No, my lower back is irrevocably
fucked from
shot.
just teaching kids to ride bikes. It's like the worst thing you can do. It's like bend, hold, stabilize, sprint.
Run like
so
Quasimodo in the Olympic trials. Okay,
So yeah.
Record the intro now.
So what did Milkless? Because I think we start with the name.
Two dads. We love our kids, but then we also need them to know that we're like pretty cool and it's not like a wimpy podcast. So, hey, hey, Milkless.
Hey, welcome. Hey,
Milkless. Call the audience, Milkless. What's up, Milkless? Matt and Max coming at you.
What if that's it? That's our first take.
On this episode, we're going to be talking about fun and play. Why is it important? Why is it probably more even important than we realize? What are the different kinds of play? Child-led versus structured, free play versus activities. You got imaginary play, physical play, competitive play. We're going to get into all of it. And we're going to try to give you some things that have worked for us, keeping play a really present part of our lives in a way that's not just fun for our kids, it's fun for us because we really all need to play a little more than we probably do. Here we go.
Let's just start with kind of like, what are some fun memories that you have with your kids and, what made it fun? And what do you remember? What do you think they're going to remember?
Yeah, right. It is interesting what your kids remember. You can tell when you've had a really, really kick-ass fun day when like months and months later, your kids...
Hey, remember when this happened?
Yeah, I remember this. So one memory that sticks out to me, my wife and the baby left town. So I had just my 5-year-old daughter. And she asked for something that we've done for a lot of her life, which is just a downtown adventure day. Mm-hmm. A downtown adventure day is we just go into town and usually we only know our first destination. And so on this particular day, I just found a good brunch spot. We went into town, but then we went to this park and then we found a green parakeet. There's these invasive green parakeets in Austin that are kind of famous.
Oh yeah.
Somebody brought a dozen in a long time ago.
They had those in Amsterdam too, weirdly.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Oh man. And so she saw this one green parakeet at this park and she couldn't believe it. It was seeing a truly exotic animal. And so we just spent the rest of our day just trying to find more green parakeets, which we never did. But on the way, we went to a cheese shop and we got smoothies and we talked to turtles on this little bridge because we thought there might be parakeets there. And we got and we just went and went and went. And we got to the end of that day and we hadn't had a single conflict. We were both so happy. It ended at a candy store where we were just like shoveling stuff into bags. And my daughter was like, I want to have this day every day. And I was like, I do too. This was so good. So that's the downtown adventure day. What about you? What's there's, it's impossible to choose.
Yeah, I was thinking about it when you were talking. I mean, for me, it's when I have nothing else to do and it's like a siphon, like I'll channel my inner kid and get the siphon started when I'm like, guys, let's go outside and like dig around. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, let's just go dig. And they're like, really? We'll go dig. And then I'll be like, yeah, you see that water coming down the gutter? Let's like try to divert it. Yeah, let's like make a dam. And they're like, make a dam with the water. And then we all just like be a kid outside. It's when I pretend to be a kid and I actually like let myself enjoy that and not worry about bills or the future or whether they're learning or this. I'm just like a little dirty kid with them all day. And then like my wife will be like, lunch. And we're like, oh, we'll be in a minute. Mom, can you bring it outside? And I'll just like play with them all day or something.
Yeah.
And maybe have like a couple beers in the afternoon, like with them while I'm still digging around and I'm having a grand old time.
They only get one beer, right? Like you got to cap. It's just body weight.
Session IPAs for them.
You want them buzzed. You don't want them like a belligerent asshole. Yeah. Sorry.
Exactly.
Go on. Yeah.
So basically it's always the fact that I'm super pumped about it. So it's not like I'm playing dad and like playing Candyland, which fucking sucks, by the way. Candyland, there's no skill whatsoever.
There's no skill in almost any kid's game.
You'd be surprised. Sometimes there's a little bit of skill. There's like Kids Catan. There's like Kids, Carcassonne, where there's a little bit of skill going on. It's fun, Candyland is literally, when you start, the winner has already been defined by the order of the cards. So anyway.
Fucking garbage.
Candyland, no fun. And if it's not a fun game, I'm just kind of like going through the motions and they can sense it.
Yeah.
Anytime where dad is super stoked, and they help me kind of figure out what we're going to do.
As a kid, there is so much shit that is not up to you. It's just like, get in the back of this car. I'm going to strap you in. We're going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And like, it has to be that way. But when you can really let the kid drive the choices, it's not like a yes day. That shit doesn't work. Kids aren't good enough planners to decide everything that you're going to do for a day. But it's allowing things to be fun for as long as they're fun.
Those are the days where in bed, they're just like, that was the best day ever.
God, is there any better feeling than that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best feeling in the world.
That creativity and that spontaneity, I think, is really big for them.
And one of the other things you said when you're talking about your fun days is you have plenty of time.
Yeah.
You know, on that downtown adventure day, we did, like, ended up in this park with a bunch of squirrels, and we sat with like my daughter holding nuts in her hand, waiting for a squirrel for a really long time. On any other day, had we not had the whole day, it would have been like, that's, you know.
Yeah, hold it out. You got 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Hold the food out.
Yeah.
Squirrel doesn't come. Okay, squirrel doesn't come. Let's go.
Yeah. We've had downtown adventure days where we only have like 4 hours, and they're different.
Yeah.
And 4 hours seems like a long time, but I'm still moving us through the day because it's like, oh, we got to get back. We got this dinner.
I think it's super hard because as parents, like, we're planning a lot. It's like, oh, it's the weekend coming up. What are we going to do? Let's go to the aquarium. Let's go on a hike.
Yeah.
It's always, packed in with a lot of activities because you do need that. You can't have nothing but unstructured play. You need to make sure that they are progressing their education and their motor skills and they know how to throw a ball. But sometimes I think we're so binary. It's all about skills or it's all about education. And then a lot of stuff falls by the wayside.
Well, like, I never learned how to play an instrument. I kind of wish I had.
Yeah.
There's a little bit probably with lining them up for a lot of activities of trying to make your child the better version of yourself than you ever were, you know?
Again, it's like what we talked about in one of our previous episodes that sometimes when there isn't a tangible like scoreboard, it's hard to prioritize some of these things. Like free play. Why would you even prioritize it? Mm-hmm. That seems like laziness, but that's super important.
Yeah. The other thing that I think about that you don't get with play that is really attached to like, learning a discipline or a skill is novelty. Like there's a lot of repetition to, if you're going to learn how to play tennis, you got to spend a lot of time on a tennis court, hitting a lot of forehands. But newness is so exciting for kids. I mean, the first time I've taken my daughter anywhere, she can't fucking believe it.
Yeah.
It could be the first time I took her to Best Buy. She was like, what? And she just ran between the aisles and she couldn't believe how big the store was. And there were a million TVs in there. And it makes me think of this great Dr. Seuss quote. If you haven't tried, you should, because it is fun and fun is good.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite, I know he's a horrible bigot, but
great quote.
Great quote from an awful, awful man.
Yeah.
No, Seuss is cool in my book.
Yeah. Okay. So usually we get into some studies right about now. The thing is, thankfully, there aren't a lot of, randomly controlled studies where it's like these kids got to play.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're in the control group, guys. Just no fun.
No fun for you.
When you're a grown up, you can have fun, but for the next 18 years, you're fucked.
With that said, the United Nations has issued that child play is so important for child development that it's been recognized by the United Nations as a human right of every child. And there's a lot of studies around free play and how that, juices creativity, independence. Because if you ever watched a kid kind of do free play, you see them kind of going through, figuring stuff out, whether they're going to play with themselves, like with a little car.
Easy now.
I heard it as it came out. But yeah, I mean, so it's very important, this free play. And I think that sometimes we kind of forget with maybe keeping up with the Joneses, making sure that your kid, you don't want to miss out on any opportunities for your kid.
One of the things that always helps me, I just think we're so primitive, and that's especially evident with kids, that I always help internalize things through how does it work in the animal world. So bonobo monkey, not the socks.
Okay.
Or I think they make the socks, is my understanding.
It's not child labor, monkey labor laws.
Yeah. Well, it's bonobo owned, so it's good.
Responsibly bonobo produced.
So bonobo monkeys. So most animals in the animal world, almost all mammals play as when they're young.
Yeah, like experimentation with like tiger cubs, like before
totally.
they, pretending to fight and stuff.
Yeah. So one of the things that makes bonobo monkeys unique is that they play for their entire life into old age. And in a bonobo group, which can be like, 30, 40, 50 monkeys, everyone plays with everyone. The kids play with the old folks. The parents play with other people's kids. The kids play together. And what they've found is that these bonobo groups are among the most tightly knit together, socially functional and happy animals in the world. And that they use their play. One of the games they'll play is a grown-up will go way up in a tree. The kid will climb up there. And then the grown-up will hold them by the ankle and just hold them out over the abyss. And the kids are like, woo! And then the grown-up will obviously not drop them, will bring them back. And it's cool because they're playing this game of thrill-seeking, fun, excitement. They're way up high. But there is so much trust communicated in that game.
Their bonds are super tight because of it. And that makes total sense. If as an adult, I was running a sales office of 70 people and people didn't like cold calling. The calling was not fun. We made all these crazy games like that made the cold calling fun. We had a game that if you didn't do a certain thing, it's a long story, I'll skip it. But then there was a penalty and we all made up the penalties together. There was something called something wet, and you had to go reach in the trash can and find something wet and show it to the group. We were 50% women. Okay. It was not just a bro party.
Not a bros club. Yeah.
We were just having so much fun making the hard things fun.
Yeah.
So there is a practical use for it. For play and fun. I mean,
and group team, like intimacy,
Right.
Because what it amounts to is shared experience.
To digress, or to not digress, the opposite of digress,
return.
I don't know what the word digress means.
We're definitely regressing. Whatever.
I don't know what digress means. I just hear people use it. They say, I digress. And that's usually when they go back to what they were saying.
Yeah.
So that's my only way of knowing what that means.
But we digress. Yes. All right.
I'm actually doing the opposite of it. So I'm gressing. I gress. So I'm going to gress now. I'm doing a non sequitur. So a 2011 study discussed how playfulness in adults is linked to like all these good characters, easing tension, ability to ease tension, a sense of hope, all these things like lower depression, stuff like that. If adults know how to play. So maybe the bonobos are teaching us something there, that it's not only is it good for child development, but it's good it grows a nice adult.
Yeah.
An adult who also knows how to play. Like everyone's met adults who just are so serious.
Yeah.
And just obviously don't know how to play. And you do something and it's like a brick wall.
Yeah.
Those people likely did not play as a bonobo, monkey child. Kind of don't know how to create fun. Like they're like bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I can literally
they just reach for entertainment instead. There's a great line from this old David Mamet movie, State and Maine, where this big Hollywood writer is in a small town. He's like, well, it's a small town. I guess you have to make your own fun. And this woman who lives in a small town says, you always make your own fun. If you don't make it, it's not fun. It's entertainment.
It's a good line.
It's a really good line. And this is kind of cool and abstract, but this is something that the bonobo researcher said that I really dug. She said, when we invent games, it allows us to imagine a set of rules for the world that are not the real world. Because the rules of a game are different. You're playing dodgeball, you just get to throw balls at your friends.
Yeah.
And it allows us to safely hold the idea of a world that is unlike ours, which is basically the building blocks of creativity.
So brilliant.
So fucking cool, right?
And one more study just to kind of hammer this home, because I'm a bit of a deep down, maybe a tiger parent. I want to make sure that my kids have all the good opportunities and this and that.
That they win. You need your kids to win.
Yeah. I mean, it's very American. I mean, and I'm going to use it now. And I digress. I think that worked. So there's a study that there's no need to load up on extracurricular activities. So when I was in high school, to get into a good college, it was all about, you got to be a 3-sport athlete. You got to be in all the things, Spanish club, key club, student government. I was a firefighter. You got to get as many extracurriculars as possible. But a study just came out 8 days ago that said, no, if you have one sport and one extracurricular, that will give you a higher probability of getting into a good college. But any more than that, 2 or more extracurriculars or sports gave no advantage over taking part in just one.
You're jack of all trades, master of none.
This episode is brought to you by Violet Archer in The Case of the Purple Martin, written by your very own Matt Naylor. He's going to read you a little passage from it.
All right, this is what starts the story. Whenever Bob and I are solving a mystery, or working a case, as we call it in the detective business, I always take a bunch of photos and write down a ton of notes. You never know what's going to turn out to be important, so I pay attention to everything, and then sort out the good stuff later. A lot of detectives, once they close a case, they'll just pack up all those notes and photos and clues and put them in a box to gather dust, thinking the thing is finished. That's never made any sense to me and Baba, though. You know those connect the dots games they have on kids' menus at restaurants sometimes? The idea is, if you draw a line between all the dots going in the right order, it makes a picture that wasn't there before. To me, a box full of clues and photos and notes, that's just a bunch of dots with no picture. So when Baba and I solve a mystery, I go back and I open up that box. Then I use it to write the story of the case. I draw the lines. Because any halfway decent detective will tell you, the most important thing isn't figuring out what happened. It's figuring out why. Stories give us a why. We don't always get to choose the dots in life, but we do get to draw the lines.
Love it. Check the podcast description for a link to buy the book or search Violet Archer on Amazon and buy it today.
Thanks.
Your kids are younger now, so I have a question. How are you thinking about approaching, access to sports and activities? What is your game plan going to be?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're just starting to figure that out. I mean, so far with sports, anything that has more than like a couple of rules feels mostly not fun. But she does love to run. She is like an athletic kid. She loves to swim. She loves to climb trees. She wants to play chase. So I think that what I'm doing now is I we watch sports on TV. I have baseball on TV sometimes I put basketball on TV. Sometimes we'll just, if I find a sport that she thinks is cool, like there's professional tag on these obstacle courses. I don't know if
I've seen that.
Good,
yeah.
Man.
They're like parkour ninjas
It's
too.
so dope.
Yeah.
And so I show her that. And then we'll talk a little bit about would you want to try this? And I think the things she says yes to, we'll try to figure out, okay, what's a low barrier to entry way to see if she likes this.
The thing is though, that also gets into the thing of the kids don't know the planning. And sometimes you got to put them in these situations, if you know that it's going to be something great down the line.
Yeah. And that's the role. That's a big part of your role as a parent, is to help your kids think about the future. Because just at their age, they are so good at being present. And they're so garbage at not being present. So I do think you have to help them see, get past those activation energy or the challenge of transitioning from one activity to the next, if you really know they're going to have a good time on the other end of that.
With that said, I think that as the kids are young, to your point, there's no hurry at this point.
Yeah.
I didn't play basketball till 4th grade. And was the captain of
and
the
now you're in the NBA
basketball team.
Yeah,
exactly.
We are running into this with the bicycle now because she got a bike for Christmas, and I'm really trying to figure out how much it's not fun for her yet because she has a ride. I put a handle on the back of it that I can hold on to. She's not totally autonomous. It's a little scary. We all know that riding a bike when you're a kid is one of the most kick-ass things in the world, but there is a hump to get over.
Yeah,
and I find myself really going back and forth between wanting to do it with enough frequency and for long enough that she does keep getting better and can feel that, but also wanting to be the kind of dad where it's when you think of riding your bike, I don't want you to be fuck, this is work.
Well, yeah, you could do the type of thing where you hit that frequency, just getting reps, even if it's only 30 seconds a day.
Yeah, short reps.
There's got to be one thing she likes where it's going down a hill where you go fast for a second.
Where I have to run my ass off.
Yeah, your back just breaks.
Yeah.
But
dude, I gotta, for any parents out there that are teaching your kids to ride a bike, they make this thing that attaches just under the seat. And then there's this vertical bar that comes up with a handle so you can stand up straight.
Oh, that's nice.
And that thing has saved my lower back.
No, my lower back is irrevocably
fucked from
shot.
Just teaching kids to ride bikes. It's the worst thing you can do. It's bend, hold, stabilize, sprint.
Run like
so
Quasimodo in the Olympic trials.
It's the worst. That's right. So yeah, that is something that I'm really starting to think about because I do think she'll like sports. I do think she'll like athletics. She's tall, like her mom. Her mom was athletic. I've always played a lot of sports. Did I say her mom was athletic? Her mom is athletic.
Edit, please.
Well, there's an 8-month-old. Nobody's athletic when they're.
Was it like
Yeah. She and shall be. So shall she be again. But anyways, yeah.
Sweating.
So in general, I seldom set out with the plan of like I'm going to teach my daughter this skill.
Yeah.
When I teach her, it's usually just like it came up. Oh yeah, you do. So I'm
like, I'm going to teach him this skill. But also, here's the thing. I try to do it in a trickery sales sort of fun way. Like I don't really think T-ball was that fun. Baseball didn't get fun for me until I was like fourth grade or something.
The high coordination.
But they need to know how to throw a ball and catch a ball. Just because like catching your keys from your spouse.
Yeah.
No offense to the people who cannot catch. But if I throw you a set of keys from 10 feet away, the throw is going to be on.
Yeah.
Catch the fucking keys.
Catch the keys. I agree. I want my daughter to be able to know how to throw. The way that we've done that is she does like to hike, especially if we can kind of go off trail and just be wild. And so if we're hiking in a place with a bunch of rocks and there's nobody around, we just pick up rocks, pick a tree as we're walking and just try to hit the tree with the rock.
100%.
And like you're learning to throw, but there's no like we're going to work on our throwing today.
Exactly. And a lot of the studies that we were reading yesterday are about play helps you with development, not only like creativity, but gross motor, fine motor skills.
Yeah.
Just getting a lot of reps out there in the world. That's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Even if you are a tiger parent, like, look, by the time they're 10-year-old, they can throw, they can, catch.
Yeah.
They can, dig.
Yeah.
Their shoulders is jacked up because they're digging for 8 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. There was a time I remember where my daughter was like, because she likes to be a punk ass. She was like, I don't like sports. Because she knows, I put sports on TV. She knows I like sports.
Yeah.
And then like that afternoon, we went out and kind of over the course of hanging out in the yard, we developed this game where she tried to get from one place to another. And I tried to tag her before she could. And she was like throwing juke moves and doing spins and creating diversions. And she was like, this is fun. I was like, I got news for you, baby. This is a sport. You are playing sports right now. Gotcha, sucker. And developing like she's like learning juke moves. How many sports? Most of the sports have juke moves.
You got to be able to juke. That's all I taught. I taught both of my son's basketball teams. And all the other people were trying to teach the kids how to dribble. It's like, come on, these kids are 5.
Yeah,
they're going to be traveling like crazy. I'm going to fucking smoke you guys. Watch this. All about juke. And like the other parents are like trying to teach them how to dribble. I'm like, no, man, just dribble once and then you won't get called for the travel. And then just learn how to juke these people. We were breaking ankles so bad that the Park City ambulance had to be called. There were just broken ankles everywhere. It's just kids laid to waste.
Do you do a lot of competitive play? Like where you and your kids are on opposite teams?
Yep.
I do too. My daughter seems to really seek it. My dad's competitive. I'm competitive. I try to not bring that shit around her, but apparently it came from somewhere. So how do you handle fairness, letting them win? Do they know you're letting them win? How do you make that fun for everybody?
Well, for younger kids who are maybe 3, I typically will kind of make it even. Like if I'm dominating, I don't do that. I will let them win occasionally so that maybe I'm winning half the time and they're winning half the time. They need to taste loss. So maybe I'll win 60% of the time, but I will never completely dominate and crush them. So that like we play 12 rounds of something and they never win.
Yeah.
So I usually do it 50-50 for younger kids. And the minute they can understand what the heck's going on, I ask them, like, how hard do you want me to play? And then if they ask for hard,
you gotta go hard.
I'll play as hard as I can. And then that's cool. Cause then, they get used to really just getting their ass handed to them. And if they do win,
it's amazing. Yeah.
Then that's awesome.
I think they also want to know on some level, while it frustrates my daughter that I'm like bigger and stronger and faster than she is, you want to know that about your dad.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. One time we did a race and she won. And I, you know, it was one of those where I made her really close, but then like I let her win at the end, and she turns and she goes, "Too slow, old man." And I was just like, "You want to run it back? Let's go ahead and run it back. Why don't we run it back right now? Just, let's see what happens. Let's see." I just fucking destroyed her.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Look, man, I'm a lot bigger than you are. I'm supposed to be able to beat you in a race." But I heard something that I liked a lot recently that I thought was illustrative of a good way of doing this. It was my buddy, and he said that growing up, he and his brother would play chess against their dad. Mm-hmm. The way they do it is they'd play and play and play until their dad was winning by a lot. And then their dad, during one moment in every game, would just go, "Switch!" And they'd flip the board.
Oh.
And what I like about that is they constructed a game in which everybody could play as hard as they could.
Yeah.
And it would end up close to 50-50 because you structured the game so that everybody can win.
And then I'm trying as hard as I can to come back.
Yeah.
Which makes it more fun, and I'm not just going through the motions.
Yeah, because I do think that like as kids get a little older, they really start to sense like, but you weren't trying to win.
Right.
So my win doesn't mean anything.
Right. So you want to jump into a lightning round where we see if we can talk about some of the fun, weird games that we've made up with our kids.
Lightning round of fun things. Let's do it.
All right, I'll start. So we do a thing called Egg Drop pretty much every other Sunday or every third Sunday, where we basically build things out of our recycling bin or trash sometimes that protects an egg, and then we throw it off the second floor of the house, and then we go down and see whose egg cracked.
Yeah, science fun is such good fun because it's pretty magical to them.
Oh,
what shit can do. So one of the things we'll do is we do a lot of imaginary play. We'll make up stories together, and to make it fun for me, I like to make the movie score to the story as we're going. So I'll like put it on the speakers at our house, and we'll make up a story, and I'll play like, you know, old spaghetti western, like, you know, the I'll like drop that a lot. Like while we're playing a make-believe thing with dinosaurs, because it gets me into it where it's like, yeah, this is fucking dramatic. Like these two T-Rex are about to fight.
that is great. I love that one. We're gonna have to steal that. I got another one. This happened when our youngest was a baby, and I was so exhausted, and the older kids wanted to play. I tried to think of one where I could kind of sleep, get like even like 10 seconds of a nap in. And it's called Sleeping Giant. This is literally their favorite game to play. Basically, I'm a giant, and I try to tickle them and attack them. And then the three of them work together to touch the back of my neck. If they touch the back of my neck, I fall asleep. That's like a button.
Oh, my button's my nose. You have a button too. That's weird. Nice.
And sometimes I'm on top of them. So then they need to work together to lift the sleeping giant off of their other sibling. And then the minute they're free, one of them touches my foot, it wakes me back up. And then I'm coming at them again. And it's like roughhousing. And sometimes like when I was working like super hard and long hours or gone on a trip, that always felt like a really good reset with them because one, it's their favorite game. And two, I got to like be physically close to them as opposed to be like, come give me a hug. They're like, I don't want to. But they'll play Sleeping Giant and we're like basically cuddling and there's a lot of good physical contact and roughhousing where we feel close.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing the way our 8-month-old, when my wife picks her up, she will cuddle in and sometimes she's thrilled when my wife picks her up. When I pick her up, she is also thrilled, but she immediately just starts pounding on my chest and my wife's just like, she knows that daddies are for beating on. I was like, yeah, I guess, you know, it's just like very instinctual. And I do think, you know, anytime you ever make a massive generalization about the way every family works, you're wrong in a lot of cases. But I do think that dads have a unique role in play, in physical play. That's my eldest daughter, and apparently my youngest daughter too, really look to me a lot for play. Yeah.
The one thing about physical play that I think about a lot is if you do it once, you need to be ready to do it 100 times.
Anything you do fun, you need to be ready to do 100 times.
So that's the only, like one time my dad or their grandfather came and he took our 2-year-old or 3-year-old and put him upside down and he walked him along the ceiling. He's like, go ahead, walk on the ceiling. I'm like, what have you done? That is way too fun.
And then he left you to be the ceiling.
He's 6'4".
Oh, no.
So I'm like, I don't have the shoulder muscles for this.
And he's like, Daddy, can you do what J-Pa did? I want to walk on the ceiling.
I'm like, oh my God, don't do something.
Damn it, J-Pa.
Yeah.
The repetition thing is tough. I think that like You're always striking this balance of sometimes you're taking it for the team because they're having a big old time. But eventually, for the fun to really continue, you got to find a way to make it fun for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
We do a game called Shooty Get Back, where she can step on all the hardwood floors and I can only step on the rugs. And if you catch the other person stepping where they're not meant to be.
It's great.
And then if you pair that with, you get a really epic.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're chaps, too. Assless chaps.
Well, that's just Tuesday. I mean, like, that's all I wear at the house. Digressing is like you go off topic. Digress means you go off topic.
Wait.
Because when you
What?
say like,
no, but when people say I digress, does that mean they're coming back?
no, that means I digress. I have
digressed is what
I
they
have
should.
Well, yeah.
I have just digressed.
It's just that most people know, so they don't have to.
So I just learned something.
Yeah. About how to sound like you know what the fuck you're talking about.
How to sound like an idiot on a podcast. That's what I've learned.
Brought to you by Violet Archer.